over how to draw Mike, an evil Mike from Monsters Inc. And I already scribbled in a very preliminary kind of thing, just kind of to get the proportions down. But let's talk our way through it, all right? We're going to go right into the eye first. And I'm thinking, you know what? He needs to be mad. Very mad. How would he get mad, really, right? It's got to be that folding in of that one eye. And we kind of saw it a little bit in Monsters Inc. He kind of does this sort of thing where it's like the eyes folding in, because that's the first thing I notice when you draw other characters with one eye. When you're thinking of something like, for example, like a Cyclops, right? In Jason the Argonauts, and it's kind of like how did they really show that getting angry? It doesn't look right sometimes when they folds in, but he does it well. He does it well. We're trying to create a little bit more of a monster-esque version of this, right? Monster. We're trying to be like a little bit more edgy in the style that I want to draw, Mike. So I want to give him a little bit of a slit pupil, a little bit. Not entirely, but just a bit. All right. And here we go. All right. And he's got to be, man. So as we're doing this, I'm thinking he's got to be, we'll give him a brow up here. Brow up here. Maybe throwing, again, just the top of his head. Right there. I want the brow to break that area right at the top of his head, that kind of line. Pulling over here. He's going to be turned a little bit to his left, to our right. Just a bit. And he normally has these like tiny horns. I'm going to draw a slightly more evolved version of his horns right there. I think that would be kind of fun to kind of do this. A lot of this stuff too, especially where you're drawing characters that already exist. You're more asking yourself, and I've talked about this before, I learned this from a concept artist, is you're asking yourself what would be fun or cool. Oh, that'd be fun if, that'd be cool if, right? That's kind of like what you're asking yourself when you're doing these kind of fan arty type things. So, and that's what's cool about it. Right there. And a lot of this stuff is first blush. It's kind of like, what am I doing? Like what am I like? I just want some like line art down so that I can absolutely kind of build upon that with detail, right? I'm just getting the general line art down, getting the general proportions down, which is what the pencil was for. But I want him to be feeding himself, kind of like meat, right? That's kind of what I wanted. I'm like, he's got to be feeding himself meat or something, or chewing on something. That's kind of what I want, and the audience kind of figure out what is he eating? What is he feeding himself? What would he possibly be eating? I don't know. He's like a monster, though, right? What would he be? I don't know. I don't know. So that's kind of, again, we're kind of pushing into kind of these fun little details that are fun little stories that we would create in our minds first, and then since we're artists, right, we're kind of going, you know what? I can make that happen. Right, I can make that goofy story happen. I can make that funny fan fiction happen. So I think that stuff's like pretty fun and hilarious to kind of do. Pulling over here as well, just kind of pulling around the side, and I'm not going into the mouth quite yet. I want to give the whole thing. I want to give the whole thing a little bit of time to breathe. Does he have I think he has like regular hands, right? But I want to give him like 2 fingers. I think he looks better like that. Does he have 2 fingers? I don't remember. He's got like 2 or 3 fingers, but I'm gonna give him 2. All like T-Rex. Right on. Right here. Well, he has 2. What do you call it? And he has 1 opposable thumb. So realistically, he's gonna have 3. He's kind of there. He's angry. Kind of trying to check out my proportion and see if it's okay. here. I want to go to his leg. As we're so I'm kind of doing this, we're trying to figure out his entire body, right? Again, I have like some scribbliness in here, and I'm just kind of making some sort of sense of that. Trying to make sense of that entire thing. Over here, does he have a raised leg? That's something I can't recall. Does he have a raised hind leg? He might. Let's do that. Cool. So something that I've talked about a couple of times would be plantigrade and centigrade. I think it's plantigrade and centigrade. Basically, it's when you have. So, for example, if you're like us as humans, right? Our heel touches the floor when we walk, right? That's, I believe, plantigrade. Let's put spike back there. But for something like a dog or a cat, they walk on their digits. Sorry, digigrade, not centigrade. Digigrade. This, so they walk on their digits, and they call that digigrade. And it makes them look cooler I mean, I believe the functional part of it is it makes them quicker to react and stuff like that. Um, but point is, I was trying to think of if Mike had this or not. I wasn't sure what he had. All right, I want to draw that smaller right there because I want it back in the distance, like he's kind of walking toward us a bit. Um, yeah, that could work. I would like this a little bit more planted. Looks a little bit off, uneven, but I will accept it because I think this part of the leg's too long. But whatever, that's life. Line over here, down. All right, over there. So I'm gotta draw the mouth. I want this. He's kind of chewing maybe on this side. So I want this mouth bigger, like taller than this side. So right over here. There we go. All right. Cool, cool so far. What would we be eating? I don't know, but we're gonna give him some pretty sharp teeth right here. I don't think he kind of has sharp teeth though, right? But we're gonna give him some sharper teeth, I think, over here in this area. Right over here. Pretty decent. Pretty decent, I would say. And we want him to, how do you say this? I want him to kind of have whatever you call it. It's raspberry jam all over him. Right? That's kind of what I want. Like this is some nasty stuff, whatever he's eating there. Make of it as you will. Right? He is out there doing stuff. This stuff's getting all over the place. Cool. So looks pretty good. I think this is a good little layout right there. Now it's kind of going into the details. I'm kind of like, okay, what can we do with these details as far as, um, Mike himself? We got to throw in this people of the eye here. People's got to be there. At least the way we drew it now. Drawing a little bit of the striations for the lines in the iris right there. There you go. There you go. Line over here. There we go. And there. Just kind of these darks, right? We're trying in these dark lines to kind of give more personality through shading and stuff, right? Right over here, I'm gonna get a little bit of dark because the light is coming from above mostly, but also giving it these kind of horns some little bit of texture and stuff. Right, we want that texture. Sorry, I'm gonna block for a second right here. I'm just gonna try to do this. If you want to know what pen I got, I'll put the Amazon link in the description. Also, if you like this sort of thing, I want to hear from you. I want to be like, hey, what is up? How's it going? Enrique, Sketch Monster, what up? Doing that kind of stuff in the comment section is always fun. It is. It's always incredibly fun. And has this great effect on me. I'm like, man, I want to do more of this stuff. Yeah. So, cool beans. All right, here. Again, he's got that raspberry jam everywhere. How's that raspberry jam gonna do? All right. It's a little spotty here. We're gonna have to do a little bit more. All right, let's go over here into the teeth, and I want to draw the gum line in for a lot of this stuff. Trying to draw the gum line and make it make a little bit of sense. Doesn't have to be super detailed, but I want it detailed enough. Right, we're drawing it in here. Looks like some floating teeth, but we gotta put in a couple of lines right here. You know, the gums. You can feel this on yourself, right? The gum line has this sort of concave area. If you feel your own gums and you feel the teeth tucked in there, that's kind of what I am hinting at over here with this guy. There you go. There we go. I want a swatch of dark over here. I'm debating if I'm going to use this or if I'm going to use, because I'm also debating on using maybe like a Sharpie to kind of fill in the really dark areas, or maybe even this brush pen. I think let's try this brush pen out right here, because I really want to get in some darker areas of this whole thing, and I don't want to use that other pen. I think it might be too much. Stuff like here, and you could always kind of edit the edges down, if you know what I'm saying. The edges are a big part of drawing, and if you don't know what edges are, go check out my other videos, or go check out the other channel, or go check out anything else. I talk a lot about edges and why those are so important. I'll probably describe them here though in a minute after I'm done putting this down. I'm thinking he's a ball shape, right? So he's a ball shape. Put that down here. Maybe we even put one of these entire legs in shadow. I might even draw this entire leg in shadow. Let's take that chance together, okay? Could put this entire thing in shadow. You know, make that just like a pseudo silhouette in order to kind of get the stuff done we need. There we go. There we go. Good stuff. Maybe a little bit over here. All right, thinking about where the light's going to hit. And so far, I'm just kind of placing these dark shapes. I wouldn't say messily, but almost painterly, right? To just kind of give the whole thing, again, some flavor. And don't forget about the focus along the eyes. So we're probably going to throw, in the end of the day, most of the contrast will be around the eye. Because the focal point of anything tends to be around where the most contrast is. And the contrast would almost always be, well, I mean, not always, but in a portrait, for example, it's almost always going to be along the eye. And it's, like I said, it's great to kind of like keep that in mind. But let's go over here. Parts of this are probably upper, lower lip, but it's kind of gelling into. I think it's gelling in too much right there. I'd have to kind of like, do a little noodling around here to kind of make clear what is going on, right? Because you want to be really clear about all this stuff. Right on. Doing pretty good, I think. I would say, let's take ready. All right, we kind of cleaned out a little bit of the some of the areas here, so we're gonna go back into it, and a lot of this is gonna be finishing touches, right? Sharper lines on certain areas, giving him, see, like right here, a little bit of muscle striation underneath that bicep. If you don't know anything about where the bicep and tricep is and things of that sort, I want you to go over to the website sketchmonsterart.com. There's a lot of free tools there for you to download and check out and improve your drawing in general. So go check that out. It is incredibly important and incredibly useful, I would say, if you're serious about the whole drawing thing. Um, Anywho, going over here, kind of putting in these little lines for the knuckles, little folding areas. A lot of this stuff is literal detail, right? Literally detail, right? You're just kind of going over these small areas of fun, just fun little areas to kind of do stuff in. And I think it's, um, like I said, it's just like detailed, literally details. So these are like third, importance, third or fourth down the line. That's why we're doing them at the very end right here, because none of these details would look like anything, right? If you didn't have the core fundamentals underneath, and that's really the most important part, is having the fundamentals underneath. Going over here into the eye, mostly like this stuff right here along his arm, just giving a little bit of muscle striation. Maybe over here as well in the shoulder. We throw a couple more lines around the eye, right? The eye itself, like I've talked about, the eye is where it's going to have, that's going to be where the focus is going to be on, right? Is the eye. There we go. Again, sorry I'm putting my hand in there every now and then, right? So hopefully you can kind of see kind of the darkness over here, the mouth. Everything is, this is like you're going downhill as far as like, just kind of like the hard part is over. It's like, all right, cool. The hard part is over. I'm just kind of doing this, chilling out, having a good time. And this is what, I'm getting out of it for the most part. Little edges and things of that sort. So I really hope you had a great time. What I want you to do is I want you to share the video if you can. I'm trying to grow the channel. I'm trying to be consistent with the channel. And a lot of that is you kind of hearing what you have to say, like what you have a request in, or is there a technical issue you have in art that you want to get fixed. And I'm going to try to post like a fun video this weekend. So thanks so much. I appreciate it. You're amazing. All right. And I want you to say what's up in the comment section, and I'll reach out to you again. All right. Well, hold on. One thing. Should we put some on the ground? Yeah, we should put a little bit of shadow on the ground, I think. Right here, just before I go. A little bit of shadow on the ground to kind of... There we go. kind of gives it a more grounded feeling, and it makes you understand. Because this is not the focus down here. That's it. That's your bonus tip. See you soon. Okay, so that was amazing. You finished this lesson, but keep it going. Keep the art practice going by clicking this video right here. It's going to be within the same theme, and you want to keep it rolling to get better and better and better and get that art flow going. So click right here.